ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ पुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावतीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Welcome back to the study of the Viveka Chudamani. Sri Shankaracharya is talking about the requirement of the sadhakas or the spiritual aspirants, and what are the qualities of the sattva, rajas, and tamas. So he starts on the 113th verse, I think, 113, no, 17th verse, 117th verse, not 100. Sattvam vishuddham jalavat tathapi ताभ्यां मिलित्वा शरणाय कल्पते यत्रात्मबिम्बः प्रतिबिम्बितः सन् प्रकाशयत्यर्क इवाखिलं जडम्. So he is defining the quality of sattva. How is sattva? Sattva is clear, like water. That means it is so clear that everything can be seen. There is nothing hiding in sattva. So that's why Sri Ramakrishna used to say that a bhakta should be guileless. Guileless means without any accumulation of any dirt in him. Very simple. So in simple hearts God resides. So it says that sattva is like clear water, and it is very transparent, it is very clean. Yet what happens is, when it comes in contact with rajas and tamas, it makes for transmigration. Tathapi tapyam militva saranaya kalpate. Sarana means to travel or to journey, make a journey from one place to the other. That means from one body to the other. So in sattva is the basic quality which is inherent in every being. But sometimes the quality of or the quantity of rajas and tamas, it increases, or when the quality of tamas, quantity of rajas and tamas becomes more than sattva, it is then that the jiva or the individual being experiences lot of sukha and dukkha, that is the dualities of joy and sorrows. And as a result, one performs actions which are not conducive to spiritual welfare. So that is why he says that saranaya kalpate. That is the reason why we travel from one body to the other, from one janma, from one birth to the other. So this is what is called as samsara. Samyak rupena sarati iti samsara. That means that which keeps on. Sarana means to keeps on moving. It keeps on moving and moving and moving. That's what happens in the experience. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. Punarapi janani jatare shayanam. Birth again and death again, and then coming back and going back again. So if we want to release ourselves from this cycle of birth and death, what we need to do is that to increase the sattva element or the sattva quantity in us, more and more of sattva. See, the reality of the Atman, he says, the reality of the Atman becomes reflected in sattva. And like the sun, it reveals the entire world of matter. Because in the sattva guna, the Atman gets reflected very clearly, just as In clear water, the sun's reflection gets very clear, becomes very clear. So our buddhi becomes very clear. That is, in our buddhi, the reflection of the Atman becomes very clear. What is the buddhi? Buddhi is the higher faculty of our inner organ, which we obtain or which we gain from by knowledge and with which we can conduct the affairs of the world. So the Buddhist function is for us to perform the activities in the world with wisdom, with knowledge and wisdom. That is the idea. So we are able to understand or we are able to interact with the world with through no, sorry with the help of knowledge. We interact with the world with the help of the knowledge, whatever knowledge we have gained. If the knowledge is tainted, if the knowledge is not clear, then everything else becomes hazy, and therefore it becomes difficult for us to understand everyone, or not only everyone, but also the whole universe. We can't understand the whole universe. It becomes shrouded or it becomes covered with darkness. That is why we always pray, Tamaso ma Jyotir Gamaya. This light within that is there. Dhiyo yo naha prachodayat, an extraordinary mantra that we have. Naha dhiyaha prachodayat. Naha means our dhiya. Dhi means this inner um, uh, inner light or inner buddhi, which reflects the light of the Supreme Being, which reflects the light of Supreme Being. If the light is covered uh, with a suit or with something that is black, then naturally the light that we need uh, for seeing things becomes very much limited. The light becomes very limited. That's what he's saying here. So therefore, the reality of the Atman becomes reflected in this sattva. So he says, how does it happen? He says here, arka prakashayati arka iva akhilam jadham prakashayati arka. He gives an example like the sun, the sattva reveals the entire world of matter. The entire world of matter is revealed, arka iva. So that knowledge which lights up the entire world of matter is due to the presence of the sattva guna. The more and more your sattva becomes purer and purer, the buddhi becomes purer and becomes clearer and clearer. You understand things much more in a much more clear manner. That is what that is how Shankaracharya is describing this quality called the sattva. And then in the next verse says, Samishrasya sattvasya bhavanti dharma tu amanitadya niyamaha yamadya shraddha cha bhaktischa mumukshutha cha daivi cha sampattirasannivrittihi. Mishrasya sattvasya, the traits of mixed sattva are an utter absence. What is that? Utter absence of pride and so on. Amanitvam, adambhitvam, ahimsa, kshanti, rajyavam, acharyo, pasanam, shaucham, sthiryam, atma, vinigraha. Sri Krishna talks about it in the Bhagavad Gita. So when we have a mixture of this sattva, rajas, and rajas and tamas operating within us, but with the sattva being the predominant nature, then certainly higher developments take place. You know, great inventions and great discoveries and great inventions, both in the scientific field as well as in the field of arts, etc. It happens only when the sattva becomes purer, greater and greater in a person. When the sattva becomes greater through tremendous discipline, through tremendous spiritual practice and discipline, when the sattva becomes very prominent, then great truths are revealed to us. So, what does he say? The traits of mixed sattva, that means mixed with rajas and tamas. They are, what are it? Absence of pride, etc. Amanitvam, namanitva. Mana means pride. Adambhitvam, that means not having arrogance. Dambha means arrogance. Adambhitvam, ahimsa, one who is not given to violence. Ahimsa, kshantihi. Kshanti means tolerance or patience. Kshanti. Arjavam, rijuta. That means straightforwardness, simplicity. Amanit, ahimsa, kshanti, rajavam, acharya upasanam. That means respecting the acharyas. Who are the acharyas? Our teachers and even our elders also can be called our acharya, who guide us or who teach us the path to spiritual success. So acharya upasanam, shaucham, purity, purity in thought, word, and deed. Shaucham, sthiryam, sthirya, sthiratva. That means being very steady, steadiness, sthiram, sthiryam, atma vinigraha. That means having total self-control. So these are some of the Daivi Sampat that Sri Krishna mentions in the Bhagavad Gita. So, Acharya, what does he say? The traits of mixed sattva are an absence of pride and so on, and niyama, yama, and the like. Yama, niyama. Niyama is purity. He gives the footnote here, purity, contentment, and the like. Niyama. And then yama. Yama, what is yama? Non-killing, truthfulness, etc. Patanjali Yoga Sutra gives the definition of all of this. So non-killing, truthfulness, etc. Of course, this comes in the Bhagavad Gita's verse that I just now explained. Amanitvam, adambhitvam, all of them are there. So niyama and yama, yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, samadhi. These are the Ashta Anga Yoga. That means the 8 limbs of yoga. So he says that if your sattva is strengthened or fortified by these practices, yama, niyama, etc., then as well as faith, shraddha, that is a very important one, says that is shraddha. Shraddha is a very important one, which the Upanishads talk about with a great clarity. He said shraddha, शास्त्रस्य गुरुवाक्यस्य सत्यबुद्धि अवधारणं सा श्रद्धा कथिता सद्भिर्यया वस्तु उपलभ्यते. In this chapter itself, Sri Shankaracharya talks about this shraddha. Shraddha is very important. Shraddha is faith, and then devotion. Shraddha cha bhaktischa, devotion, and mumukshata. Mumukshata is that intense desire to become free, to get out of this bondage, to get out of this cage called the world, samsara. That is what it is. And then to develop the divine tendencies, which has been mentioned in the 16th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Daivicha sampattihi, asat nivrittihi. These, what they do is they remove the asat. That means those things which are non-essentials can be removed by it. Only when you remove the non-essentials can purity be properly understood. Only when you remove, because if you are having too much of junk, you will not be able to see the reality. That is the idea. And then Sri Shankaracharya goes to another when he brings up one more quality which is called as Vishuddha Sattva. One is the normal Sattva, which is inclusive of Rajas and Tamas. That itself is great. But he talks about another quality. What is it? Vishuddha Sattvasya Gunah Prasadaha Svatmanubhutih Parama Prashantihi Triptih Praharshah Paramatmanishta Yaya Sadanandarasam Samruchati. The traits of pure sattva are, pure sattva means unmixed with rajas and tamas, 100% gold. So the traits of pure sattva are cheerfulness. See, this is one thing. Prasada. Prasada means cheerfulness. Of course, when we have prasada, we become cheerful. So that is another thing. But the real meaning of prasada is cheerfulness or ananda. That means happiness, that bliss, feeling of a sense of bliss. That is called as prasada. Vishuddha sattvasya gunaha prasadaha. The traits of pure sattva are cheerfulness. And then Swatmanubhuti Parama Prashantihi, realization of one's own self, experience of one's true self as the Atman. I am the Atman. So when that happens, then one has achieved the Vishuddha Sattva state, the state of Vishuddha Sattva, pure Sattva. And then supreme peace, contentment. Contentment, in fact, contentment comes even before peace. So, contentment, bliss, and steady devotion to the Atman. See, this is one thing. Steady devotion to the Atman. It means being very much aware of the presence of the divine within ourselves. That is what is meant over here. Being aware of the presence of the divine within oneself. Atman, of course, he will explain in greater detail the topic of the Atman. But here, steady devotion to the Atman, here we should take it as steady devotion to the divine that is present within ourselves. And of course, uh, within ourselves as well as within the others too. This is what he means, by which the aspirant enjoys everlasting bliss. So one then enjoys the everlasting bliss when one gets into this pure sattvika state. Yeah, but even before attaining to this, first we should develop or we should strengthen the sattva guna within each other, within ourselves. That is, he has made it very, very clear here that when, if you want to make yourself sattvic, if you want to gain or attain to this sattvika state, then you need to become prideless. You need to have, you need to practice yama and niyama, etc. So we need to make an effort or we need to invest ourselves in such practices. When pride overtakes us, when somebody says something to me and I immediately get incensed by it and react to it because it hurts my pride, it hurts my sense of ego. So that is where we need to pause a little, just pause a little bit and then move forward. This is very important. Pause, stop, and then proceed. That should be the dictum that we should practice in our life. Yes, we will not be uh, successful in the first attempt, but shanaihi shanaihi. It means again and again, again and again, again and again, make this effort. But we should be bold enough to swallow the pride that overtakes us. That is the very important thing. Unfortunately, we don't want to swallow our pride. We want to savor the pride. We want to taste it and then enjoy the pride that we have. That is where we fail. All of us, we all fail. So that is where Sri Shankaracharya, being Paramaguru, he is instructing us or he is giving us some guidance about it and says, try and reduce this ego that you are so fond of, reduce this pride with which you conduct your activities in the world. That's why he says, be childlike, guileless. That is a wonderful word in English. So in Bengali, Sri Ramakrishna used to say saralata, childlikeness, saralata, saral hona. It means simplicity. See, in simplicity, there are no strings attached. Whereas in pride, there are too many strings attached over there. In simplicity, there are no strings. It is totally free. So that's what Shankaracharya is trying to impress upon us. And then in the next verse, Sri Shankaracharya is talking to us about the third type of body. That means, first of all, he had described the Stula Sharira, that means the gross body. Then he spoke to us about the Sukshma Sharira, that means the subtle body. Then he digressed a little bit and then brought in the topic of the three gunas, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. And now he is going to take us back into the study of the third body, which is the Karana Sharira, which is much subtler than the subtle body. Subtle body itself is subtle, but there is this Karana Sharira is greater than that. So the causal body is being studied in this verse. Avyaktametat trigunairniruktam tat karanam nama shariramatmanah सुषुप्तिरेतस्य विभक्त्यवस्था प्रलीन सर्वेन्द्रिय बुद्धिवृत्तिः अव्यक्तमेतत् त्रिगुणैः निरुक्तम् त्रिगुणैः this undifferentiated, that was mentioned in sloka 108, avyaktametat trigunair niruktam. They are spoken of as the compound of the three gunas, is the causal body of the soul. The soul, the footnote says, identifying itself through ignorance with this or the other two bodies. Avyaktametat trigunair niruktam. Profound sleep is its special state. When do you feel the presence of this Karana Sharira? Profound sleep. That is which identifies that I have slept very well. See, I have slept very well. Who was there to feel that I have slept very well? The body was lying still. Then the mind has also stopped working, like in the dream sleep, the mind still works, the buddhi also, the intellect also works there. But then who is it that is guarding us over the sleep, deep sleep. That's what he says here. In profound sleep is its special state in which the functions of the mind and all its organs are suspended. So not in perfect knowledge as in samadhi, but in ignorance. It is still bound by ignorance. This is the difference between these two states. That means the state of karana and the state of samadhi. This is what he says. So in the state of causality, it means in the causal body, we experience deep sleep. We are asleep deeply. That is where we are. We have merged ourselves into the karana sharira. That means in the causal state. In the waking state, our gross body keeps on functioning. And in the dream, the subtle body functions. That means the one where you have the ego, where you have the manas, the mind, and you have the buddhi. And in that state, you will experience you have the various experiences, just like you have the varied experiences in the waking state. In the similar manner, you have varied experiences in the dream state also. But here, in this karana sharira, you experience only one thing. What is it? That I am, I am, I am, I am, I am, I am, I am. That is that which is the witness to the other two states. That is called as the karana sharira. And he says here, what is the component of this karana sharira? Says the undifferentiated. In this undifferentiated, the three gunas are still there: sattva, rajas, and tamas. What does he say here? Avyaktametat trigunair niruktam tat karanam nama shariram atmanaha. So that is what is known as karana sharira. We won't get into too much of details of this karana sharira now, because it's more than sufficient for us to be aware of. Can you please switch off your microphone, please? Thank you. Thank you. Sarva prakara pramiti prashantihi बीजात्मनावस्थितिरेव बुद्धेः सुषुप्तिरेतस्य किल प्रतीतिः किंचिन्न वेद्मीति जगत् प्रसिद्धेः. Profound sleep is the cessation of all kinds of perception, which we all know. See, in profound sleep, that means in deep sleep, there is all the other kinds of experiences, they are absent. Even if you have terrible pain, even if you have terrible agony, all of that is absent in deep sleep state. So whether it be mental perception or whether it be the sensual perceptions, sensory perceptions, all of them are absent in deep sleep state. So he says, in this state, what happens? The mind remains in subtle seed-like form. Bijatmana avasthitireva buddhihi. The mind remains in a subtle seed form state. What happens in the seed? In the seed, the tree is hidden. It is not expressed, so to say. So that's how it is. So when we go into deep sleep, the mind it closes itself, as it were, into a seed form. It's just imaginary, but it closes itself, and just it is still there. Its potential is still there, but it is not expressing it. It is not opening itself out. So the mind becomes involved into a seed state. That's what he says. The test of it, the test of this is the universal verdict. That is, negative remembrance proves the continuity of the mind even in the sushupti state. That is, what is it? Negative remembrance. I did not know anything. That is negative remembrance. See? Na kinchit avedisham. Sukham aham asvapsam na kinchit avedisham. That is the Vedanta, in the Vedanta Sara, we see this. So, Sukham aham asvapsam. That means I have slept very well, and I did not know anything. So, not knowing anything is called as negative remembrance. Negative remembrance. And this is universal. Everybody, animals as well as humans, all of us experience this in the deep sleep state. We don't know anything at all. See? And the experience of all of us, the one experience of all of us is the same. That is the experience of deep sleep. Your experience, my experience, everybody's experience is the same. Whereas our dream experiences and our waking state experiences, they vary from person to person. But the deep sleep state experience is common to all of that. The one of the experiences, which is negative experiences, is that I have not known anything at all. But having said that, there is something positive also. What is it? We are in a state of bliss. We are in a state of bliss. That's why we come back and say, I have slept very well. See, there is positive experience as well as negative expression also. Both of these things are there in the Karana Sharira, or in the deep sleep state over there. So whether um, you are old or whether you are young, whether you are a saint or a sinner, all of our experiences say the same thing. I have slept very well. I was in bliss when I was sleeping, and I did not know anything at all. So that is what is the experience of Karana Sharira. देहेन्द्रियप्राणमनोहमादयः सर्वे विकारा विषया सुखादयः व्योमादिभूतान्यखिलं न विश्वम् अव्यक्तपर्यन्तमिदं ह्यनात्मा. See, the body, deha, indriya, prana, manaha, aham, adayaha. So what are these? The body, deha, indriya, that is the organs, then pranas, then manas, mind, then aham, adayaha, egoism, and so on. All of all these modifications, the sense objects, pleasure, and the rest, the gross elements such as the ether, in fact, the whole universe up to the undifferentiated, all this is the non-self. See, this gives the footnote here. This and the next sloka set forth what we are to avoid identifying ourselves with. We are the pure self, eternally free from all duality. So, the 49th verse, I believe, the Shishya or the disciple asks the question, Kosao Anatma, what is the non-self? I told you earlier that during Shankaracharya's time, Buddhism was almost at its peak, and the Buddhism had propounded the philosophy of Anatmavada. That means there is no self. Self is non-existent. So that is what Anatmavada. So the disciple is trying to ask Shankaracharya here. Shankara himself asked this question as a disciple, and he says, Vakosau Anatma, what is this Anatman that the Vedanta, from the Vedantic viewpoint, what is this Anatma? Atman we can understand, self we understand, but what is this non-self? That is the matter of investigation that Shankaracharya is explaining over here. So when I experience the world, when I was born, when I was a baby, my experience of the world began by opening my eyes. I opened the eyes and I did not experience myself, but I started experiencing the world outside, isn't it? So, but it's very interesting, isn't it? When we were babies, uh, uh, we always said we did not say I. We always said thou. Everything is you. Everything you are seeing outside, but one does not see one's own self. One does not feel one's own self. Only after a few months or after a few days, we start experiencing ourselves, then asserting our existence. That's what happens. So we start asserting this experience. So that's what he says here. Um, Abhyakt, Deha Indriya Prana Manodayaha. So that the body, the sense organs, the energy, that means the prana, the energy system, the mind, ego, all types of modifications, all the sense objects, etc. And also the five primordial elements, that means the akasha, vayu, etc., the five elements. All of these are to be referred to as idam, that means this, and not I. They are not I. This is my body. I won't say this is I body. We never say that. So in the same way, we don't, the anatman is that which is not me, that which is not me, separate from me is called as anatman. Whatever is idam, whatever is this or that is to be known as anatman, that which is not my own self. That is the understanding that we have from this verse. He will develop this further in the next verse. Sri Shankaracharya gives us a little bit technical details about how this idam, this world that we experience came from. How did this come about? Maya Maya Karyam Sarvam Mahadadi Deha Paryantam Ana Asad Idam Anatmat Adanatma Tattvam Vidhitvam Marumarichika Kalpam. See, from Mahat down to the gross body, everything is the effect of Maya. See, The question comes, how did this universe come about? If only Atman exists, if only Brahman exists, how did this universe come about? And Shankaracharya has, in the earlier verses, he has clarified this, of course, and he is further clarifying it. He had said that it is because of the play of Maya. What is Maya? Maya is the statement of fact. It seems to be there, but again, it is not. As soon as you go near it, it is not there. Maru Marichika. It happens. Marichika means like the mirage. You see the oasis, you see water, you see even palm trees, etc. While you are traveling in a desert and you are very thirsty, and you see all of this. But as you go nearer and nearer towards it, it keeps on receding backwards. And then you will realize, oh, this is Marichika. This is what is called as the mirage. And therefore, then you become aware. Once you become aware of it, you will not pursue it. That is the idea. So he says here, from Mahat down to the gross body. What is Mahat? Says cosmic intelligence. It is the first to proceed from the Prakriti or Maya. See, Mahat up to this body that I have, all of them, all of these have come because of the precedence of Maya. So he says, these and the Maya itself know thou to be the non-self and therefore unreal, like the mirage in the desert. From the subtle, most subtle, extreme subtle Mahat, and from there to the gross concrete world that we are all aware of, all of these are in the sphere of Maya, within the bounds of Maya. Maya Marichika Kalpam, in the desert of, the mirage of the Maya. What is true is the desert alone. I mean, if you are going in the desert, traveling in the desert, the truth is that there is the desert and not the mirage that you see. So, athate sampravakshyami swarupam paramatmanah, having resolved this or having mentioned to us the nature of the world. What is the nature of the world once again? That this is nothing but Maya Matram, that this is nothing but an illusion. If the term illusion is a little bit misleading, unfortunately, we cannot use that word. It is something that appears in place of something. There is the Atman, but in place of the Atman, you see the Anatman. That is, you see the world. That is called as the Maya. So that's why I said it is a statement of fact. Swami Vivekananda's statement, Maya is a statement of fact. If I am within the bound of Maya, then I will see Maya everywhere, the Maya manifestation of Maya everywhere. But if I have come out of Maya, that is to say, when I have identified myself with the self, with the divine, if we can use that word, when I identify myself with the divine, you will see everything as divine. This is the difference. The difference between a realized soul and a non-realized soul is in this, that a realized soul sees only that self or that divine everywhere. But you and me, we have, or we are only reasoning, we are only um, we are only experiencing the world as Maya, as real, externally real, but it is not really real. So probably that's a better word to use. Not really real, but it is apparently real. So that's why Swami Vivekananda's sentence about Maya is nothing but a statement of fact is very powerful. That word. It is not really real. See, the person who is who has realized the self, he sees the same self in every being. Does he not see the weaknesses of people and all of that? He sees it, but he sees it as if it is just a mirage. Just as when you after you have realized that it is a mirage, as you are traveling on in the desert, as you see that, you will see, definitely you will be able to see the mirage after knowing that it is a mirage, but you are not tempted by it, or you are not cheated by it. So a realized soul also sees the variety, but he knows that it is really not existent. It's a very difficult topic to explain, but Shankaracharya has made it very, very easy for us to understand. So in that, we will be stopping here, and because Shankaracharya is going to take up the next topic, Atate Sampra, what is the self? That is the sixth question that that the disciple asks. Sixth question that the disciple asks is that what is the self? Kosau Anatma Paramah Ka Atma. What is the self? That will be of interest for all of us. Till then, let us meditate upon the self. Let us think about the reality itself. So, of course, prasadataha, that means there is another verse, I think, in one of the Upanishads. Dhatu prasadat mahimanam atmanaha. Dhatu prasada. That means when the divine grace showers upon us, then everything will be revealed to us. So Sri Ramakrishna makes it very easy for us, and he says, pray to the Lord. He gives the example. If you want to know, he gives the example of one of the rich people who were there near Dakshineshwar. His name was Jadu Malik. And he says, if you want to know how much Jadu Malik owns, or what he owns, how rich he is, how many shares he has got, etc., then what you need to do is somehow you should make an effort to reach him, even if that means scaling the compound wall and going and dashing into his drawing room. Somehow you go, and then if you go to him, then he will reveal to you what all he has. So all of these things, will be revealed to us. Yes, intellectually, it helps us to understand about the universe that we live in, etc. But ultimately, love of the divine, and then thinking of the divine at all times, that itself will give us this realization about the self. So, what is the self? He will discuss it when we meet next. It is next month. Om Shanti. Shanti, Shanti, Hari Om Tat Sat, Sri Ramakrishna Arpanam.
Swamiji,
Yes.
can I ask a doubt, Swamiji? Like, I don't know whether it is a reasonable doubt or not.
Of course.
When we talk about, like, in Dridrisha Viveka and all that, we say what we are seeing is not us. So our eyes, our body is not us. Like, the self is not any of that. And then we say that there is Advaita, there is no duality. How is that possible when we say that it's not us, the self is not that? Then it becomes dual, right?
No, that is why it makes it very clear. Advaita ekam eva advitiyam. That is one, and advitiyam means there is no two. So they make it very clear. Only one thing exists. That is, the self alone exists. Atman alone exists. If you call it Brahman, that you can also say that there is nothing else but the self. So Advitiyam means you cannot even think. That is why they say one without a second. This is the English word that we use. One without a second. Whenever you talk of one, naturally two comes. Am I right? Whenever you say one, it
Yeah.
presupposes that there is two. I think that's your question. Whenever you say one, there it presupposes that there is a two. But here, the Vedanta says it very, very clear. Ekam eva advitiyam. It is one without a second. So you cannot even call it as one. You
So,
cannot even call it as one. It is something which is beyond measure. It is beyond measure, or it is beyond comprehension also.
so, but when we say that we are not the body, we are not the mind,
Mm.
so then body mind has happened and then we are separate from that. So that is two things, right?
Yeah, no, that is what it is. The body and mind, that's what we studied just now here. The
Mm.
body and mind are the manifestations of Mahat. From Mahat down, it comes down. From the Prakriti or Maya, all of this body and mind comes. So it is not really ourselves. Ourself is, it is different from the body and mind. A realized soul, when he realizes himself or herself, what he or she sees is himself present everywhere. That means that self being present everywhere. There are no two there at all. See, one person, I mean, you can even say it like, body doubles. Nowadays, you say that body doubles, isn't it? So you have one person, but it appears as two persons, but it is not really two persons. It is only one that is existing over there. You may employ somebody to play your role as a body double. That's all right. But you are what you are. Your identity is very much different from the identity of the other person. There is no two. That's why I emphasize that term, ekam eva advitiyam. There is no two. The universe does not exist apart from your self, your Atman. So there is, when you have the realization, when the Atma Jnana happens to you, the universe, it dissolves. It does not exist anymore. That's what happens when a person goes into samadhi, then the universe does not exist. Just like he has given that example of deep sleep. In deep sleep, are you aware of yourself? Or you say you have a body, you say you have a mind. Are you aware of yourself, your body and mind? But yet, you say that you have a body and mind. When do you say that? When you come out of that deep sleep state, when you come out of it, when you look around and say, oh, I have a body and I possess a body, etc. But I am different from the body. That is the experience that we have in deep sleep. I am separate from the mind. I am separate from the buddhi. I am separate from the body, the stula, sukshma. I am separate from all of that. That is the feeling that you have. Similarly, when a realized soul, that means an Atmajnani, goes into that state, deep samadhi state, he or she does not feel the existence of the world at all. What exists is the divine alone. So only when they come out of this state, back into the body, back into the world, phenomenal world, they, instead of seeing the differences everywhere, they see that one Atman being manifested in various ways. So there is, ultimately, there is no two. If you go deeper into Sri Ramakrishna's philosophy, he will say that all of this is nothing but Leela. That means it is a divine play. In a play, you play different roles. When you act, you have different roles that you play. But are you identified with that role? Only during the play, when you are enacting that role, you are identifying yourself with that. But can you identify your real self with that? Are you two different personalities there? Does it make any uh, sense at all? It's difficult to understand, no doubt. Probably it takes a little more time. I will have to spend more time with you to give some examples, which I will not do now. Maybe we can do it at a later time or a later date. We can
Okay,
do
Swamiji.
that. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Swamiji. Thank you. Good night.
Anything else? Good night.
Namaste, Swamiji. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Swamiji. Thank you.